the video.
Okay, so the project, as we all know, is consists of an auditorium, a gym, a hotel, and a car park in an existing HP factory. So the first thing I start doing for this is that I start to seek for the stakeholders, who will be the people sort of engaged in this process, and how could I address them. So I create a stakeholder diagram with some power and information sort of criteria. Then after, I start moving on how will I communicate with those stakeholders. So I create the communication strategy, who's gonna be, what we're gonna do it, when we're gonna do it, how we're gonna do it. So is showing that. Then after, I start seeing how we're gonna finance this project. And the first approach we did was to go to the BCI's rates and the location factors, multiply to create the cost per asset, and that give me an overall cost. The same way I did with the land sort of area, I work out as 38,000 meters squares, and so I multiply it by like the cost per meter square, which I found out it was £155,000, and give me a total cost. The first thing then, after having those values, I put in the calculation for the capex, but after done that, I started thinking, oh, would it be possible to start thinking in another sort of financial strategy? So then I started thinking, what if Hewlett Packard would not sell the land, but he lease it? So then that straight away would take over the cost of land. We would put on the cost of the leasehold, but it's a different strategy. So and then the other thing I started thinking is Bristol City Council. They are major owners of car park buildings around, and they have Everyone Active and NCP that they manage those assets. So what I create is a strategic partnership that they could start putting 50% of the value of the project and Holiday in construction with all the experience they have, will put the other 50%. Then how do you repay them? So how do you repay them? What I said is that over the whole life cost, the Bristol City Council, Everyone Up there, and NCP would have the cost of the gym and the car park as a revenue, and the Holiday Inn will have the venue and the hotel as a revenue throughout a certain amount of years. So they will agree that upon sort of costings. So what that gives us is that the percentage of money they have to put on would sort of change, because by Hewlett Packard leasing the land would effectively be putting on 12%, although they will get something in the lease cost, but they effectively at the point where the project is going to start, they're giving that asset without any cost, or with a little cost. And then 50% for Everyone Active and 50% for NCP. Why I want them to be investors is because I'm looking at the long-term value business. So they already are managing their assets, so they could be investing. So they go that sort of ability to have the two ends of the business. Right. From those things, now I start calculating sort of the operational expenditure. I did it per asset again, and I create sort of total cost, which I put it into my whole life cycle based on the 3.5 base discounts that everybody got. And then from there, I start costing the revenue. That this is again based on assumptions and sort of research of what is the cost of the room, what is the membership of a gym, events per year, and all these things to get the overall revenue. I go a hidden gem here, so I'm not gonna say it. I would say if you pick it up, but I would say at the end. Right. Once I got this feasibility sort of arranged, I think my project could be move on. So I start appointing my professionals. So I did a quick sort of comparative table to between the procurement methods, and I end up using managed contracting. So why I think managed contracting is good? The main factor I was looking is that you get more design time. So you appoint the design team at an earlier stage. The other thing I put on is a client representative. I'm not taking the client as the client knows best. I'm using somebody else that got experience to help us, the design team, and the project manager and everybody to develop the project. And then the other thing I like from here is that the design team can be innovated, so the contract packages can be passed on, and the designer who was looking after before that could be a consultant for the subcontractor. So it's kind of works for me. Then after that, we move on to the risk assessment. So based on each profession and the river stages, you can see I assess different characteristics of the project during the construction, after the construction, and in the preparation stages. And so you get the matrix there. Finally, obviously, it's very important to see who is the responsible for what. So it's the responsibility matrix, and sort of who's responsible for approving, leading, or just being informed. One thing I have to say in this is that I actually as well, I start looking at the cost value of life and the inflation rate. So I did a quick calculation rate on the total revenue. So as they go along, the revenue of the buildings will go up. So it's not the same calculator now. It just goes up throughout the years. And you can see how it swaps. So throughout the 10 years of the building, if you pay, it will be repaid at year 10, and it will just be profit after that. Finally, throughout the river stages, this goes to 3, and then after it just sort of the production, the beam and the model, and then the engagement at a higher level than after. That's it.
Okay, well done.
Any questions?
Any questions? At least one question.
Yeah. As I said, I got a hidden thing here.
Oops, sorry.
I was thinking if somebody spotted.
I will not try to spot it now.
Right.
But later.
Okay, cool.
What's your hidden
One
thing?
question.
Huh?
What's your hidden thing?
Yeah, I can say. I can say.
Yeah,
Easy,
no problem,
easy.
yeah.
So basically, the OPEX and the revenue,
Yeah.
if you see it here, the two figures, that's lower.
Okay.
And that, so in paper,
Yeah.
my project would not be good.
Okay.
But the thing is, this is calculated on the total cost of the capex,
Okay.
but it's not calculating the percentage of the investors. So if you see here, Holiday Inn is only putting 50% of that.
Yeah.
So you could start waiving that. Then the other thing I was sort of thinking of is that all my prices are kind of in the low end. So I try to be very just try to charge whatever figure to arrange. This is the first try run I done. So you can arrange again the revenue of each individual asset, and then just up.
What we call creative accounting.
Yeah, exactly. But what I wanted to highlight is different ways.
No
So not just one way
No
to.
problems. No
Is
problems.
way to.
Yeah, so far as I'm concerned, it's about the logic behind your calculations.
Mm.
So this is a blank check, it's an assignment. So if I was you, I would increase my revenue such that, because we haven't given you any limitations
No.
in terms of that.
Yeah.
So I'll increase it such that my
But I have
profit ratio-
50% at year 5. I will be happy to pay.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. But I wouldn't decouple the investments
All right.
in terms
Cool.
of doing the analysis. I'll
Right.
look at it holistically at this stage.
Right, okay,
Yeah,
cool.
so that's good. But then at the end of the day, it's good. Your capex calculation looks okay from the value, and the assumptions you use also sound interesting. You've done your funding analysis, which is good. So I'll just move to the next thing, which is what stakeholder here.
Yeah.
So let me have a look at it. So what's the engagement plan?
The engagement plan
Yeah.
is. Engagement plan. Yeah.
Is that one? So this is the
So, yeah. So-
internal, external, power, interest,
Yeah.
involvement, inform, consult. Okay, so somehow, but I think it misses the engagement tools.
Oh, right. Okay.
So the engagement tools, so it will also look like a communication type of strategy. So for those that are informed and involved, what tools would you use to?
So
inform and involve them?
they inform and involve. I would
Yeah.
use the consult coordination.
Okay.
So,
so if you outline the actual tools, so some of them might be part of the main project communications.
All right.
Whereas some of them it might be, you might be involving them in meetings. Some of them you might be sending them newsletters.
Oh, right, cool.
Social media.
Yeah,
So in terms of the engagement strategy, the engagement plan is a good one, and
Okay.
it normally relates to how you communicate with the stakeholders.
Yeah, so that's what I thought with the communication strategy, you would address that sort of in a way. So meetings, analysis reports.
Yeah, so there are
So-
two levels of communication. One of them
Yeah.
relates to the project organizational
Right,
structure.
right.
Then the other relates to the stakeholder engagement.
Yeah.
So the project
But-
organizational structure is more internal.
Right.
Then
Okay.
the one attached to the engagement plan.
All right. I get you. It's just because the two methods
Okay.
are the same.
Okay,
So you
okay.
do it at
Right,
different levels, but the
right.
methods
Okay,
will
good.
stay the
Okay,
same.
good, good. So,
Yeah.
so try to be clear which one belongs to your
Right.
stakeholder engagement. And which
Or I
one-
could perhaps address that, like which level.
That would have been brilliant.
Yeah,
If you
I
did
can-
that, that
I
would
can
be
get you.
really good.
I can get
Yeah,
you.
that would be really good.
Okay.
Yeah. So and then what's the next one? Risk. So
We got the
obviously
risk.
that's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing that probably missing, which is always a good thing to have at this stage for a risk
Is-
register,
mhm.
residual.
Yeah, residual
So
risk.
now I'm sure you.
Yeah,
know, but
that's right.
apart from that, all of the risk categorization, action plans, and mitigation, good. There's roles and responsibility matrix
Yeah.
attached to that. Procurement selection, which is a very good thing.
Yeah.
I quite like that if it's real.
Yeah, it is. It's
It is
coming
good.
out. If it's real.
Yeah, good,
It's
good,
coming
good.
out.
Yeah, so that's good. In terms of your construction management structure, this is fine. Again, health and safety advisor, but probably what we are more interested in is principal designer.
Cool. Yeah.
Okay, health and safety wise. This looks very much like the contractual structure.
Yeah. How would you do it with
Yeah.
a principal designer when you
Just
innovate it
indicate-
then? Because the principal designer would act in here, but
Yeah.
in the construction phase it wouldn't have to be innovated. It's supposed to be another contract arrangement. So that's
You could still let him have the principal design role.
Yeah.
Or the construction manager would
that's
have
what
it.
that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, but
I was
it's just a
thinking-
matter of indicating who it is.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. BIM roles in there.
Yes, I did.
Probably-
It actually was
Yeah.
one of the first thing I used to take the
Okay.
decision, the
Yeah.
BIM and the design. You can
Yeah.
see it, yeah, and the
Okay.
design.
Yeah, no
Sort of
problems at all.
area.
Yeah, but this looks very much like the procurement structure. So
Alright.
if you wanted to make it the project organizational structure, then perhaps the clients rather than the representative can still be there, but maybe you won't start off with the client.
All right, yeah.
And then
I
come
didn't.
back.
I didn't. Obviously,
Okay.
Big,
No
that's
problem.
why I
Yeah.
didn't start with this
Yeah,
because
yeah,
those
yeah.
three are
Okay.
the main triangle.
No
kind
problem,
of-
no problem. But if it's a project organizational structure rather than procurement structure, it might be good.
Right. Okay.
To show that. Yeah, and then so we've done organization, we've done stakeholder,
We've done
we've
cost
done
and
risk, we've done costs. So we've done it all.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
that was pretty
Okay,
straightforward.
Well done.
Thanks.
Yeah. Okey dokes.